Before we talk about the betrayal, you need to understand who these two men actually were, because this isn't just a history lesson. This is a story about trust and what happens when you give it to the wrong person. Julius Caesar, born July 100 BC in Rome, noble family, but not rich. His family claimed they were descendants of the goddess Venus herself, but in reality they lived in a regular apartment block in one of Rome's poorest neighborhoods. So from day one, Caesar had the name, but not the money, and that drove everything he did. His father died when he was just 15, left him as the man of the house with nothing but ambition. But here's the thing about Caesar. He was different from the very beginning. Charming, brilliant, sharp sense of humor, and obsessed with winning. When pirates captured him as a young man and demanded a ransom, Caesar laughed at them, told them the ransom they asked for was too low for a man like him, demanded they double it. Then, while waiting to be rescued, he spent his time writing poetry and giving speeches to the pirates, telling them he would hunt them down and crucify them when he got free. They thought he was joking. He wasn't. The moment he was released, he raised a fleet of ships, tracked them down and crucified every single one of them. That was Caesar at 25 years old. He entered politics and the military and never looked back, won battle after battle, conquered Gaul, which is modern-day France, Belgium, Switzerland, and parts of Germany. The common people of Rome loved him, because while other politicians served the wealthy elite, Caesar served everyone. He gave land to the poor, opened citizenship to people in the provinces, even created a new calendar, the Julian calendar, which with a few small changes is literally the same calendar the whole world uses today. By the time Caesar was in his 50s, he was the most powerful man in the world, and everyone knew it. Now let's talk about Brutus. Marcus Junius Brutus. Born 85 BC, his family had roots in Roman nobility, but his life started with tragedy. His father was executed when Brutus was just a child, killed by order of a powerful general named Pompey. So Brutus grew up without his father, raised by his uncle Cato, who was one of the most rigid conservatives in all of Rome, a man who believed in the Republic with every bone in his body, and that belief rubbed off on young Brutus completely. Now here's where it gets complicated. Brutus's mother, Servilia, was having a long-term romantic affair with Julius Caesar. Everybody in Rome knew. It was the worst-kept secret in the city. Some historians even asked whether Caesar could be Brutus's actual father. Probably not. Caesar was only 15 when Brutus was born. But the point is, Caesar and Brutus were connected long before they ever formally met. Through blood, through politics, through Rome itself. As Brutus grew into a man, he became respected, intelligent, principled, known as a man of honor. People trusted him, not because he was powerful, but because he seemed genuinely good. And Caesar noticed. Despite the complicated history with his mother, despite everything, Caesar liked Brutus, saw something in him worth protecting. Then came the Civil War. Caesar and Pompey, the two most powerful men in Rome, going to war for control of everything. And Brutus chose Pompey, the man who killed his father. Think about that. He sided with his father's murderer against his mother's lover, against the man who had always shown him favor. Some say it was political conviction. Brutus genuinely believed Pompey represented the Republic better. Others say it was more personal than that. Whatever the reason, Brutus took up arms against Caesar. Caesar defeated Pompey at the Battle of Pharsalus in 48 BC, completely destroyed him. And Brutus was on the losing side, a prisoner, facing the man he had just fought against. Most people in that situation expected death. Caesar did something nobody saw coming. He gave specific orders to his soldiers before the battle even started. Don't kill Brutus. If he surrenders, bring him to me. If he keeps fighting, just let him go. Don't touch him. Brutus escaped the battle and sent Caesar a letter, explaining himself. Caesar read it and pardoned him immediately. No punishment, no consequences, no conditions, just forgiven, like it never happened. And that forgiveness came with rewards. Caesar made Brutus governor of an entire region of northern Italy, then gave him one of the highest political positions in Rome, then put him on the list to become consul, the highest office in the entire republic. Positions that normally took decades to achieve. Caesar skipped all of that for Brutus, because he trusted him completely. For 4 years, Brutus lived under Caesar's protection, rose to power because of Caesar's support, and by most accounts, he was grateful. He did his job well. He and Caesar had a good relationship. Everything looked fine. Then 44 BC arrived, and Caesar made the announcement that changed everything. Dictator for life. Not just a temporary leader during a crisis, for life. He also accepted divine honors. People were treating him like a god. His portrait was on coins, a golden chair in the Senate, his own statues in public temples, the month of July named after him. For the people who believed in the Republic, this was a nightmare. And for Brutus, who had grown up believing that no one man should ever rule Rome forever, this was a betrayal of everything he stood for. Not a personal betrayal, an ideological one. The man who saved his life was becoming the very thing Brutus had always feared. Then Cassius came. Gaius Cassius Longinus, Brutus's brother-in-law, a senator who didn't just disagree with Caesar politically, he hated Caesar personally. Cassius had been quietly gathering other senators who felt the same way, building a conspiracy, and he needed one more person, someone Caesar trusted so completely that his involvement would make the whole thing legitimate. He needed Brutus. Cassius worked on him for weeks, appealing to his sense of duty, his belief in the Republic, his family legacy. His ancestor, Lucius Junius Brutus, had ended the Roman monarchy centuries earlier. People were literally leaving anonymous messages on Brutus's chair in the Senate, saying things like, "Brutus, are you asleep?" Calling on him to act like his famous ancestor. And Brutus, after weeks of internal conflict, after genuinely wrestling with betraying the man who had given him everything, said yes. The night before the assassination, Caesar's wife Calpurnia had nightmares. She dreamed of his murder. She begged him not to go to the Senate on March 15th. A soothsayer had already warned him weeks earlier. Beware the Ides of March. Caesar dismissed all of it because he trusted the people around him. He walked into the Senate that morning completely unprotected. No guards, no armor. Just a man walking into a room full of people he considered allies. The conspirators surrounded him under the pretense of presenting a petition. Then one of them grabbed his toga, and the daggers came out. Caesar fought back. He was Julius Caesar. He didn't go down without a fight. But then he saw Brutus, standing there among the assassins, dagger in hand. And according to every historian who documented this moment, Caesar stopped fighting. Completely. He pulled his robe over his face and let it happen. 23 stab wounds, the most powerful man in the ancient world, killed not by an enemy, but by someone he had chosen to protect. His last words in Greek were, "Kai su teknon," "You too, my child." Then he was gone. Now here's where you think the story ends. But the worst part hasn't even started yet, because everything Brutus did this for fell apart immediately. After the assassination, the senators didn't applaud, they ran. The crowd didn't celebrate, they rioted. Brutus and the conspirators walked out of the Senate covered in blood, expecting to be treated as heroes who saved Rome. Nobody treated them like heroes. Mark Antony, Caesar's most loyal general, stood at Caesar's funeral and gave a speech so calculated and so powerful, it turned all of Rome against Brutus overnight. He showed the crowd Caesar's bloody robe, pointed out the 23 stab wounds one by one, reminded them of everything Caesar had done for them, the land he gave them, the money he left them in his will, the gardens he turned into public parks for the people, The crowd went so crazy they tore a poet named Cinna apart in the street, just because he had the same name as one of the conspirators. That's how far gone Rome was. Brutus fled the city. The man who killed Caesar to save Rome was now running from Rome. For 2 years he tried to rebuild, raise an army, fight back, but Mark Antony and Caesar's heir Octavian were coming for him. In 42 BC, at the Battle of Philippi, everything ended. Brutus lost the war. Rather than be captured and dragged through the streets of Rome in chains, he fell on his own sword, took his own life. 2 years after stabbing Caesar,